Good evening. Tonight, our focus shifts to Caracas, Venezuela, where President Nicolás Maduro has issued one of his most dramatic and defiant warnings to date, directed at former United States President Donald Trump. In a press conference before international media on September 1st, 2025, Maduro accused US officials of attempting to drag Trump into a bloody regional conflict. His words were clear, his tone urgent, and his warning unmistakable. They want to lead you, Mr. Trump, into a bloodbath, one that could forever stain your name with South American, Caribbean, and Venezuelan blood. This stark message comes at a time of renewed confrontation between Washington and Caracas. The United States has accused Maduro of leading a sprawling drug cartel and, in response, announced the deployment of naval forces to the southern Caribbean. To Maduro, these ships symbolize more than security operations. They are reminders of warship diplomacy, or what Latin American history remembers as gunboat diplomacy, a policy where military muscle was used to impose foreign will. For him, it is proof that external powers are trying once again to bend Venezuela into submission. Maduro's voice grew sharper as he warned Donald Trump personally to beware of advisors like Marco Rubio, whom he accused of plotting to entangle the former president in a cycle of violence. He insisted this path would leave Trump's legacy scarred by bloodshed for generations. It was a rare rhetorical move. A Latin American head of state appealing directly to a US president's sense of history, warning him not to let hawkish politicians define his role in the hemisphere. But the warning did not stop there. Maduro declared that if Venezuela were attacked, the country would immediately enter a period of armed struggle. He vowed that his government would constitutionally declare the Republic in arms, mobilizing the nation from north to south, east to west, to defend its sovereignty, its people, and its history. In his words, Venezuela would become an armed republic, ready to fight in every corner of its territory to guarantee peace, independence, and survival, no matter the cost. Such rhetoric is not unfamiliar to Venezuelan politics, yet the scale of the claim that followed was striking. Maduro revealed what he described as a consolidated figure: over 8.2 million Venezuelans, militiamen and reservists, who have stepped forward, declaring themselves ready to defend the nation. Men and women, young and old, he said, had pledged loyalty, forming a force that could be mobilized at any time. If accurate, this figure represents nearly a third of Venezuela's population, an extraordinary number that Maduro uses to project both strength and legitimacy in the face of external threats. The United States, meanwhile, frames its naval deployments differently. Washington insists that the Caribbean mission is not an act of war, but part of an anti-drug operation aimed at disrupting narcotics trafficking routes that have long been linked to Venezuela. For American officials, this is not about regime change, but about securing the region from illicit networks. Yet in Caracas, the symbolism of US warships off the Venezuelan coast speaks louder than official statements. To many, it looks like preparation for a blockade, or worse, an invasion. The situation places Donald Trump in a uniquely precarious position. During his presidency, Trump often listened to hardline voices within the Republican Party, with Senator Marco Rubio among the loudest advocates for maximum pressure on Venezuela. Sanctions were imposed, diplomatic channels were frozen, and talk of military options was never far from the surface. For Maduro, these moves revealed not a strategy of negotiation, but one of coercion. His message now is designed to push Trump away from escalation, warning that such a course could not only fail, but also backfire, leaving the Trump legacy remembered for bloodshed rather than diplomacy. There is also a deeper geopolitical dimension. Venezuela, though mired in economic collapse and political crisis, continues to hold some of the world's largest oil reserves. Control over its future has long attracted global interest. With Russia, China, and Iran increasingly supporting Maduro's government, the confrontation with the United States takes on global implications. A clash in Venezuela would not simply be about Caracas versus Washington. It could become another flashpoint in the wider contest between Western powers and emerging multipolar alliances. Maduro's defiance plays directly into this narrative by declaring that Venezuela will not bow to US pressure, and by boasting of millions of militia members ready for armed struggle. He positions his country as part of a broader resistance against what he calls imperial aggression. His words echo other leaders across the global south who reject US interventions and warn of a multipolar world order in which no single nation dominates. Yet the risks are real and immediate. While Maduro insists that his nation is prepared for armed struggle, the Venezuelan economy remains fragile, with inflation, shortages and mass emigration continuing to erode the foundations of daily life. Millions have fled the country in recent years, seeking refuge in Colombia, Brazil and beyond. For these people, the threat of a military confrontation is not an abstract geopolitical contest. It is a terrifying possibility that could worsen an already dire humanitarian crisis. Still, Maduro's words resonate within Venezuela's loyalist circles. They reinforce a narrative of resistance, one where the nation stands as David against the Goliath of the United States. They also strengthen his hold on domestic politics, presenting him as the defender of sovereignty and the leader who will not bend no matter the pressure. As the world listens, one cannot ignore the theatrical element of this speech. Maduro's choice to address Trump directly, naming him and warning of betrayal by his own advisers, is as much performance as it is policy. It dramatizes the moment, transforming political conflict into a personal confrontation between two presidents, one past, one present, each with legacies at stake. President Donald Trump, you have to take care of yourself because US Secretary of State Marco Rubio wants to stain your hands with blood, with South American blood, Caribbean blood, Venezuelan blood. They want to lead you into a bloodbath and stain your Trump name with blood forever and ever. Now, the channels at this moment can be described as damaged because warship diplomacy is an erratic, misguided option that has been imposed on President Donald Trump. If Venezuela were attacked, it would immediately enter a period of armed struggle to defend the national territory, the history and the people of Venezuela. And we would constitutionally declare the republic in arms, in an armed struggle and a republic in arms from north to south, from east to west, to guarantee peace, sovereignty and the development of the country in any circumstance we may face. We have reached a consolidated figure of enlisted militiamen and reservists of 8,200,000 Venezuelans, men and women, who have stepped forward and said, I am ready. 8,200,000 Venezuelans, but it remains open.